Hey everybody, this is Perch. Matching creators up with titles. I did that video a bit ago, and this question sort of touches on that. It says, hey Perch, do you think a fitting creator, or creator who fits, I think is what's said, is more important than a great creator when creating a comic? It says, there's an example here. Azzarello and Chang's Wonder Woman is great, but it plays way too heavy on the everyone's a little evil that you see in a lot of Azzarello's work, especially when you have the Amazons, who are supposed to be a utopian society, raping and killing boats of men to retain their population. More recently, I read the first few issues of the Thing miniseries. While it was decent, it was annoying because it didn't feel like Ben Grimm was himself. That led to me dropping it. On the other hand, I read the recent Hawkeye miniseries as a Hawkeye fan. It wasn't great, but the creative team seemed to fit. I wouldn't have read it had I known it was a miniseries. What's your opinion? Great creators who don't fit, or fitting creators who aren't great? Good question. I think it's the second one always. So, great creators, all of them, have put in a stinker or two in their career, and in most cases, it's because they don't fit the book they're on. It's because it's a bad matchup. And I think this can be true of artists. It can be true of writers. It can be true of a lot of things. I think that we've seen examples of stories, although now I'm struggling to think of any, but there definitely are one. I think the Azzarello Wonder Woman is a great example of one. I think that what was it? Was it Azzarello and Jim Lee who did the Superman? That followed up from Hush. That was a terrible, terrible comic. I mean, terrible run. And Jim Lee, who's a great artist, couldn't save that abysmal comic and story. It was unmemorable and it wasn't good. Was that Azzarello? Maybe I got it wrong. I think it was Azzarello. Much later, I think Scott Snyder teamed up with Jim Lee on a very forgettable Superman comic, and it wasn't a good fit for Snyder, even though I think he does write a good Superman, and he did when he did the Justice League. He had some of the better Superman moments of the time. And so I think it's possible. I think the creator has to fit the property. And I think that a bad fit will sabotage and sink an amazing creator any day of the week. I think, I would argue, for example, John Romita Jr., and I know there's a lot of, different opinions on his style and how his work is and everything else. And I do think he was, to me, the top of his work was Daredevil back in the day with Ann Nocenti. I believe it was Nocenti and Romita Jr., and that was a killer team. That was just a team that knew how to write that comic. And you compare that to Romita Jr. on Superman with Bendis, and I feel like that was just a terrible pairing. I think Romita didn't do a good Superman. I think he looked uninspired. I know he's older now and everything else, but I still hold up, for me personally, I will hold up John Romita Jr. as a legend, always. He is. He's made incredible renditions of characters. Had a great run on the X-Men, done great stuff on Daredevil. He's not to everybody's taste, just like Mike Mignola is not to everyone's taste. But all the same, it's a good run. Mignola did what did he do? He did like She-Hulk, I think. He did, and it was not good. It didn't fit. He did a Fantastic Four, it's quite good. Of course, he's absolute aces on Hellboy, and he did a pretty damn good Gotham, by Gaslight as well. I think that it's, you got to get a creative team that fits the project. And if you get one, you're going to get a better result. Even if that creative team is not, quote unquote, great. I would suspect that right now, some of the people listening to this have a great, or rather a great, have a passionate, true to life, good, whatever you want to call it, Legion of Superheroes story under their belt, or Fantastic Four story. I'll bet they know how to do it. You may be unknown. You have no experience, and maybe you're not even the greatest comic book writer, but you know those characters, you have a passion for it, and you do a great job with it. So I would like to see you on that title. I'd like to see that pairing. I think that you can go down the line of different great comic runs. I mean, John Byrne kind of said at one point, if I remember this correctly, that the Fantastic Four, he wasn't intimidated by it, but he's like he wasn't sure that was going to be a good pairing for him. And he wound up cranking out one of the most legendary runs of the time, of all time, on Fantastic Four. I think that I think there's lots of examples of cases where when it clicks and when it gets right, it's amazing. And the best possible scenario is you get a great legendary creator and you put them on the book that fits them, and then it's just absolute magic when something like that happens. I think that you look at Mark Millar, and when he did the Ultimates, that comic, that moment, teamed with Brian Hitch. I mean, that was the teaming of the ages right there. That was perfect. They created an absolute classic. It went on to kind of clearly inspire the movies, and it was amazing. And I think that that's a perfect case. Now, you know, Mark Millar and Hitch then went on to do the Fantastic Four run with the two of them, and it didn't have the same impact. I still enjoyed it quite a bit because I just like his style and I like the art. I thought I liked some of the big swings they took, but it's not remembered. And you could argue that wasn't a good fitting. I do think Brian Hitch, his art style, which again I absolutely love, it didn't, that it wasn't ultimately a good fit for the Fantastic Four. The characters never looked quite right. I think the same thing is true with Steve Epting when he did the Fantastic Four as well. Again, it seemed like an odd fit. Yeah, I think there's a lot of cases like this. Ramos on Strange Academy feels like he was born to do that book. I like him on Spider-Man. He did a couple of issues of the X-Men, and it didn't look right. It was odd. So I think I absolutely think I'd rather see somebody that fits the title than quote unquote somebody great. Because I think that somebody who fits the title, you will see the passion come out in the writing or the penciling or whatever it happens to be. The passion will come through. And without that, stuff looks wooden, it looks uninspired, it reads uninspired. And I think nothing's sadder than when you get a kind of a legendary creator on something where it just doesn't fit. I think the Frank Miller, the Dark Knight Return sequels, by the time they got to like the Master Race, I don't know. I mean, maybe he was enjoying himself. It didn't feel like it. And I think that's just an indication of you get the right person on the right title and great things can happen. But when you screw that up, it doesn't work. So yeah, I'll take fit any day. I will take a good fit over a legendary team always. And that's just me. But how about you? So let me know what you think, what you would prefer in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.